You're you're muted, Joan.
Right. No, I was having a
Oh.
problem rolling my mouse to get
Oh,
the cursor up to the other screen, so I apologize. Okay, so we'll start with our roll call with Chris Wolverton,
Here.
Emily Mattern,
Here.
Jack Amrine,
here.
Michelle Frederick,
Here.
Louise Frederick. Sounds like she's unable to make it. Maybe she'll
No,
join.
Louise is here.
She's here, but she's frozen, I think.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Okay, so Louise Frederick is here. And then Pam Ferguson.
Absent.
Pam is asked to be excused.
Okay, is there a motion
So moved.
and a second?
I second.
Thanks, Emily. Any discussion on the motion to excuse Pam from the meeting? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, so Pam is excused for the meeting.
Did you want a roll call for guests at this time, or do you want to wait till the opening comments and guest comments for?
Yeah, let's wait until we get through the minutes and then we'll
Okay.
see who's joined us. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of last meeting.
Thanks, Emily. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jack. Are there amendments, changes, corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? So I found, I was a little confused. We were approving the minutes from the March meeting, correct? At the April meeting? Joan, just go ahead and leave yourself off of mute.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, sometimes there's a lot of feedback, so we'll see how that goes. But
Okay,
yeah, you're right. At the April meeting, we should have been approving the March minutes.
okay, because it says we're approving the April minutes, and then it says the motion was for the January meeting.
I think that may be a cut and copy
Yeah,
edit kind of thing. So yeah, we'll make those corrections.
okay. Other comments from the board? So, Em, if you don't mind me rephrasing your motion to approve the amended minutes?
Yep, of course.
Yes.
Great, thank you. And Jack, you're okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, so.
I'm
the
just
motion-
glad you know what month it is.
Not every day of the week do I know that, so.
Yeah, I'm just like, what day is it?
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of the April meeting. And the minutes will stand corrected. And is there a further need to discuss or to amend? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes stand approved. Okay, Joan, if you wouldn't mind introducing our guests.
I believe with us this evening, we have our medical director, Dr. DeJulia. She's just over my shoulder. And we also have Eric Gorzinski, who will be giving us a presentation this evening. And I'm not sure of the other guests. I believe a couple other have signed on. So if you wouldn't mind one at a time, just announcing your name for our roll call minutes.
I guess that's me.
Yes.
Sorry. So my name is Florence Xu. Actually, I'm working with Eric for the wastewater treatment. So I'm doing the lab work part.
Good.
We're really happy to have you. Thank you.
Welcome to the meeting. And Michael, always good to see you at our meetings.
Anyone,
Good to see everybody.
anyone else who we haven't captured in terms of their name as being present? I guess.
Doesn't look like it. All right, thank you. Well, it's an opportunity for our guests who aren't scheduled to give a formal presentation to make any comments to the board. So, Mike, did you want to say anything, or Eric?
I'm good.
Okay. Angela, she's hiding back there still? Do you want to say anything?
I'm just trying to minimize feedback by not having another log on, but no, I have no special comments today.
Okay, thanks. And Florence?
Um,
Okay. All right. So we're gonna have, it seems like a much abbreviated meeting in terms of business, but there's still business to be made. So we're gonna go through the statistical report for April. It's in your packet. And Madam Commissioner, did you want to point anything out in particular?
I just wanted to make sure that everybody probably noticed the new formatting with the statistical report. It looks a little bit busier, but it is actually an up-to-date Excel spreadsheet where the last one was somewhat corrupt and very difficult to work with. One of our case investigators actually was a whiz with Excel and helped us set up this new sheet so that we can carry this forward. We'll be able to add lines as needed, and I think that that will be helpful. So you'll see under miscellaneous, there's several fees that are broken out so that we have a little bit better idea of what those miscellaneous fees are. And I think that that will be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found it a lot easier to track things. So thank you for doing that. Any questions for Joan on the statistical report?
Just such a difference in the amount of birth certificates issued this year in comparison to 2020. Do you think it's because of the online?
Well, we didn't start the online till February, but I know we were discussing that that as well. I know one thing that changed was since they lifted that ban on not having to renew your driver's license, we've had more people come in asking for birth certificates than we did when there was that moratorium that you didn't have to renew your driver's license. And of course, everybody needs a birth certificate for that.
You mean they don't have the original that came when they were born?
Well, that one doesn't count with the state anymore, so you
Right.
can't. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that's what a lot of people try, but unsuccessfully.
Right. Joan, you want to go ahead and give the health department report? I don't see Rose on the screen yet, so.
Okay, so sure thing. So in terms of our first topic is a COVID update. Currently, we have 2,378 cases since the start of the event in the Kent City jurisdiction. We've had 12 deaths so far. We've been very fortunate there. We've had 72 hospitalizations since the start of the event. Currently, we have a 97.2% presumed recovery. So I think that shows that most people are, at least in the Kent area, are well enough after they acquire it. We do have a median age of 22, and that stayed pretty solid there. Our 7-day average is up a little bit, 25 cases on average. 3 are typically from Kent and the remaining are from Portage County. Now at one point in time that was definitely flipped around, but we make up the fewer end of the cases at this point. Let's see, our county still remains in red, level 3, and so we look at until the cases per capita decline, and currently we went up a little bit last week to 160 per 100,000, and we're still meeting, so that's indicator number 1, we're still meeting number 3, which is the non-congregate care at 100%. So until those can drop, we'll have a hard time getting out of red. But you can see when you look at the state map, the bottom portion of Ohio, southern Ohio, is mostly orange. The northern band across the top is solidly red in terms of everybody having high case counts. In terms of testing, numbers of tests really continue to decline. We don't see very many positives, maybe 2 or 3. The other day we had 0 when we opened up our ODRSQ, so that has not happened for a long time. We're also doing wastewater sampling, and Eric is going to have a presentation on that later, so I'll defer that information for his presentation. In terms of vaccination, while there's increasing availability of vaccine, and actually the health department was transferred 200 doses of Johnson & Johnson from Kent State Dewey's Healthcare Center, there's decreased increased demand. So we're a little bit concerned that we're going to be able to spend through all those doses by the expiration date, which is June 23rd, but we're working diligently to try to get some pop-up clinics started. We did do a bedridden individual yesterday. Captain Moore from the fire department went with me to a resident's home. She could not get out of the house easily, so she was very grateful that we came to her. And then we finished up the remainder of the doses. There was one waste, but we did finish up the remainder of doses at a kind of a lower socioeconomic status housing. So we were also offered 180 doses of Moderna this afternoon from Case Western Reserve, but that expiration date was on Friday the 14th, and I knew we couldn't expend all those, so I didn't accept them. I continued to participate in Portage County Health District press briefings as they're scheduled. I think they were canceled last week. And I do have presentations scheduled this Friday to Kent Displays. That's an area business. They had had some questions. Their staff had questions about vaccines, so they asked me to come and do a Zoom meeting with them. So I have that set for Friday. I was also asked to present at the UH Portage Medical Center board for their, I guess they're having a retreat, and they wanted an update on COVID from the city of Kent's perspective. So I was happy to be invited to that. And then I'll be presenting in August at the Kent Rotary, just to give them an update. Outside of that, it's just a lot of questions in terms of events. When can we have this festival? How can we hold, that organization's meetings? And still, the state is not going to give individual guidance on every single different type of festival or event. So it's mostly working with people and asking them to come up with a plan that then we're happy to review and consult on, and give them any help with making it a safer venue. But it's very challenging right now at this point. In terms of the food service organizations, AOHC had sent out information. They surveyed the health commissioners on their cost analysis methodology for 2022 fees. We were concerned that fees were going to really change because of the alteration that COVID had for 2020, and many other health departments had that same concern. They took many of their sanitarians in as contact tracers. We did not do that. We contracted with the state, so that was helpful from that standpoint, but I did answer that. Let's see, Kent City Health Department did get all their inspections done, but I think it's important to note that there's a difference between the fiscal year and then also the calendar year for when those fall. So that could in fact impact our fees, as well as the fact that we froze our fees and didn't increase them, but they're thinking that they'll probably freeze the fees at any point anyway. So Justin typically doesn't run the cost analysis until August each year, so we didn't have specific amounts to show you right now, like how that might impact us. But I'm thinking it will be maybe up to 10%, but we'll see when he runs that cost analysis in the next few months. Other than that, housing inspections, body art, and pools, really no updates there. Vital statistics, we're still awaiting the job posting for the registrar's job. It seems like the online Permitium is really working well. Since we joined several other counties in the state, I think seven other counties have joined Permitium as well. So I think they used us as a Portage County's doing, or Kent City's doing great with that. In terms of grants, we're still working through spending down some of the COVID monies that are there and looking at how we might be able to use those more effectively. And then Mike, I didn't know if you wanted to update on the tobacco grant.
We have not received our notice of award for the tobacco grant yet. So once that does come down, that will certainly be relayed to the board. But again, the expectation is that we will be funded for that grant.
And then in terms of the mosquito grant, of course, we were approved for that. Justin is interviewing intern candidates, and I believe that he has 3 selected that he's very hopeful that they'll accept the offers for that. In terms of additional items and notes, the staff is signing up to host a table at the Kent Farmers Market each Saturday. So Kyle went first. I went on the rainy Saturday that we just had, and then Eric is going to volunteer for the 15th. And again, that's just to do some community outreach, to answer questions, to make ourselves available. And actually, we're thinking of inquiring if farmers markets attendees might be willing to receive vaccine there, that we might set up, we might take a list and register people and maybe provide vaccine at the farmers market. Outside of that, I've been volunteering at the Thomas Anderson Memorial Gardens in the historic South End, because I think that that's another good way to connect with the community and let community members get to know us and as people, and then we can talk about what we do. And then finally, accreditation. Mike, I don't know if there's any updates you want to provide on that topic.
Yeah, I gave a little bit of an update prior to the meeting, but right now our accreditation action plan sits at just around 50%, just a hair over 50% completed. We did receive the ERP from Portage County Health District, and once we receive those appendices for that plan, we should be able to continue uploading at a little bit quicker of a pace, considering that comprises most of domain 2 and a good chunk of domain 5 and 6 as well. So we're continuing to plug ahead. The accreditation specialist has been a lot more responsive lately, and she did say that FAB is aware of House Bill 110 as well. I don't know if they have made any testimony on behalf of accreditation in the the overall role of local health departments here, but she said that they are aware of it and the impending outcomes if it were to pass as is. So maybe that quicken the pace a little bit.
Good. All right, thank you, Joan and Mike. Do you want Eric to give his presentation now, or?
Sure, and that way then if Florence needs and Eric, if either one would like to excuse themselves after that'll give them back their evening. But you're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. But if Mike, if you can bring up Eric's slides.
Hey, I was hoping to comment on something during in regards to your report, Joan.
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. There's, I don't know if it's still going on, but during the high school summer, they would do physical exams that they would pay someone to come in and do an exam for the athletes. Is there any way that maybe we could know what days they are and send like the health department to do COVID vaccinations to 16 and above on those days that they're doing the physicals?
We just actually wrapped up a clinic for 16 and up. There is actually some high school students as old as
Okay.
could attend, and we did do first and second doses of Pfizer for them. We're working with Superintendent George Joseph on the 12 to 15-year-olds since that was recently approved. So the thing that's hard is that the school nurses also hold vaccine clinics for the standard childhood immunization. So we just have to make sure that nothing would overlap within that 2-week period, since there has to be 2 weeks spacing between vaccine types.
Okay. Just throwing out an idea. I knew physicals happened and they did them at the high. Yeah. Just to
Joan,
reach more people.
How many vaccines did we administer at those clinics?
They had 156 scheduled, and I think it wasn't all 156 students. Some other people came in as some students dropped out, but there were 156 people vaccinated each time. So for their first and second doses.
Hey, Eric, it's all you.
Awesome. Okay, so since January, we started monitoring for SARS-CoV-2 RNA and wastewater. Mike, want to do the next slide? As we're all aware, COVID-19 can be spread asymptomatically, making case investigations difficult due to limitations for contact tracing and the subsequent isolation and quarantine protocols. even though a case may be asymptomatic, they are still shedding SARS-CoV-2 RNA through their digestive processes. Once it observed that COVID RNA data is increasing in an area, case testing can be promoted to locate and isolate asymptomatic cases. If you look at this map, you kind of get an idea of why we chose the locations to do the sampling where we did. So Kent State University's University Facility Management is doing their sampling at 3 of the dormitories. That's the big red blob on the east side of the campus there. And then the city of Kent is doing sampling at 2 off-campus apartment complexes. The one just below Kent there it's more of a yellow. That is 345 Flats, and the just below and to the right of that red blob, that is Province Apartments. So those are the 2 locations that we've been doing. God's Love has been making these heat maps, and he's doing a great job of it. And he's had help with the Kent Service Department as well as Davy Tree.
So Eric, what are the gray blobs?
My hunch is that's just lowercase areas. Most of that's outside of Kent, the gray isolated blobs outside of Kent, but it might just be like one individual case.
Okay.
With some of those smaller yellow blobs, you see one of those is Fraternity Circle. The one in the bottom right corner is Whitehall Terrace, University Townhomes. The kind of yellow line just to the right of the dormitories is College Towers, University Oaks, and Holly Park Apartments. And then if you see just under the TWP, that's where University Drive is. We have got a bunch of off-campus housing in that neighborhood as well. But they're all homes that, have like 5 or 6 bedrooms, and a couple of the frat houses over there. Next slide. So the sampling process, like I said, we have the 5 locations. Kent City Health Department's doing the 2 sites. KSU University Facilities Management's doing the 3 sites. We started in January. It's ongoing through today, but KSU is only doing 1 dormitory currently. Obviously, most of the students aren't there. The auto samplers are pretty cool. They cost about $6,000. The 2 that I've been borrowing from Kent State, just great machines. We put them in on Mondays. We're doing it 4 days a week, sort of. It's actually two sampling events. We put them in on Mondays and we put them in on Wednesdays, and we remove them on Tuesdays, and we remove them on Thursdays. They're 24-hour sampling, so from Monday morning to Tuesday morning, from Wednesday morning to Thursday morning. Auto samplers are programmed to draw 120 milliliter sample once per hour. And that's about it regarding those. We do have some issues with the sampler sometimes. The strainers will get clogged with toilet paper, which is kind of unpleasant to think about. Or if the flow's too low at that 1 hour point whenever they're drawing sample, then they won't be able to get anything in through the strainer. We did have 1 sampler that went down for a day, just had a screw came loose on its pump. Next slide, Mike. As for the results here, these are from when we started up to current, or actually, no, I guess about a week ago. They're not proportional. You can see the one has a value of 25,000, and the one on the left, and the one on the right has a value of 4,500. What's interesting about these 2 spikes that we see is that it's shortly after Fake Patty's Day, March 13th. This is the end of the March is when those spikes were. I think one of the dorm sites also had a similar trend at the same time. One limitation that we have with the results is we generally get them about a week later than we submitted the samples. Next slide, Mike. So the actions taken were just contacting property managers for the apartment complex, and offering them the Binex test kits, and stressing social distancing guidelines even further. Additional limitation is that they're not institutional settings, so the testing is voluntary at that point. We can't force them to get tested. Next slide, Mike. I got to say the KSU staff and faculty have been awesome to work with. Just great group of people. UFM folks have been very flexible and have been great regarding providing the equipment and helping with sampling when I was out on paternity leave for a few weeks. KSU's biology department has been helping out with the transferring the sample. They actually come to us at the vaccination clinics so that we don't have to leave. And the other health department sanitarians, they've been helping me out with the sampling as well. I greatly appreciate all the effort involved, and that's all I got. If next slide, if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see what I can do to answer them.
So when you offer the antigen testing, does anybody take you up on the offer?
I reached out to the apartments and explained, you know, that we've been doing this sampling and noticed that spike and that it was a concerning upward trend. And so I offered to just bring them 20 kits. They could give them out to whoever wanted to use them, but I never heard back. They there were no positives that came. So I don't know if it was because nobody tested, or maybe the people who tested were ones that were negative at that point in time, or what. So it was a little disappointing, but I think that that's a good intervention, is to at least heighten awareness. We're noticing it, and here's something you can do is test. But I think students are a little shy to test right now because they don't want to be quarantined.
Yeah, in institutional settings, they've actually had some luck with preventing outbreaks. They noticed that they had, I think it was one in Texas. I think it was like a youth institute, correctional facility, and they noticed the RNA in the wastewater, and they required everybody, staff and inmates, to be tested. And one laborer ended up testing positive, and he was asymptomatic, so they potentially avoided an outbreak there.
But I believe that the Kent State is planning fairly heavily to use this for the fall, when they hope to have increased in-person class capacity and maybe more people living on campus. So I think that is an important strategy, and hopefully, we'll be able to see trends and be able to implement interventions. Florence, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Anybody else not hear her?
Can't hear.
Florence, your microphone has gone down. It's not showing as muted, so I don't know what. Okay, there.
Gotta love IT.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely an evening of tech issues tonight.
Yeah.
Feel free to use the chat box if you think you can.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go. We got you now.
Now you got it?
Yeah. Now
we can hear you.
So let me do this. Can you still hear me? Okay. So we have Ken was doing not was until now until the spring break, they also doing the test every week, and not every day, but they do the turn because they only test the 3 sites for the RNA for the wastewater treatment. So we do see the trend. However, the one thing we were still right now we are trying to do is we are trying to make threshold. So we do have the threshold, but it was a little bit higher, because we learned we find out because the population or I should say residency in the campus and off campus are really low compared to like a wastewater treatment. So we were once we drop that, we do see a trend, as we can probably detect it maybe a day or two. Based on the N2 the copy number from the virus RNA in the wastewater compared to real case. Yeah. So I hope that it can help a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments for Eric and Florence? Okay, well, thank you both for your report and for your diligence in keeping us apprised of what's going on COVID in the wastewater.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Not a glorious job, but absolutely necessary.
Actually, I do have a question in regards to, Joan mentioned that Kent State may be doing the testing when their students come back in the fall. So how prevalent will that be if they do have a wastewater positive? Will they be quarantining the dorms in that particular area, or are they going to actually use those tests? You know?
Florence, I don't know if you want to.
Yes. So far we have been told, because we were talking about this. So far the strategy is they were going to, I think, when the student move in, they are going to give everyone's testing. And after that is they are using wastewater treatment as the indicator. So if we see the spike, and they are going to test that dorm. And then once they don't, they will remove the student, from remove them from their own dormitory to the quarantine dormitory, which will be this part will be the same as last spring. However, they are not going to do the testing like before. They are not doing the nasal testing or testing for every student in the campus, leaving the campus. So they will rely on the RNA wastewater. They use a wastewater as an indication.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Eric, again, and Florence. And you're welcome to stay through the meeting, or if you need to get going, we understand. And congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on then. We have a communicable disease report, but did we also get a nursing report?
Yes, both of those were sent out. The communicable disease report, I believe, came last.
Yeah.
Which was just the one page, just the aggregate tallies of first quarter numbers. But
anything you want to comment on? I looked through it. That percentage column is a little confusing to me. It doesn't say it's a percentage of what. And then when you get to the bottom for totals, the total is 18%. And that seems a little strange to me.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's out of all the people tested or out of all the positives. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. Because with the one Cree case, how could that be 100%?
Right.
All of their cases, doesn't it? Because they usually tell us Kent is this percent
of the county. Okay, so maybe that's it, that it's the percent of the county total.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe they just didn't include the county, which would have given us some indication. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and we still got comparable chlamydia numbers.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be a pandemic and quarantine and it's social distancing, but I guess that's just the upper half of the body. All right. Questions about the communicable disease report? Hearing none. Any other comments, Joan, you want to make about the nursing report?
No, just, the lack of trending is still a concern, and the lack of any interventions. I think right now, with the focus still being so heavily on COVID, whether it's testing or now vaccines, I'm sure that there's been a short supply of hands-on staff that could look into all that. But it is a concern that we really can't tell where we are historically.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Any other reports, Joan, that you want to bring to our attention?
No, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. The next item is a discussion of House Bill 110.
And this, it will be very brief too. As Jack had mentioned earlier, many people spoke up on our behalves, wrote letters on our behalves to be entered into testimony. House Bill 110 moved to the Senate. It went specifically to the Health Subcommittee for review, and they did take testimony on the 6th. There were a number of other local health districts that went in person that I think made a big impact. New Philadelphia, I think, did an outstanding job and had good turnout. So hopefully that will make some impact. I don't believe that there's been any vote by the Senate at this point yet. So it's still yet to be determined what if any changes they'll be willing to make. So that's all I have, unless somebody else has some other details.
Jack, did you want to make publicly any statement?
Well, no, I was talking to the city manager and he felt that we had pretty strong ability to sue, because in our city charter, because we have home rule, we can't be more lenient, but we can be stricter with the laws. And if we want, it does indicate within even though it's not said you will have, it's indicated within the charter that a Board of Health does exist in Kent, and how we assign people. So Hope felt pretty good about it. So
Okay, good. Good to know. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. In your packet are the expenditures and encumbrances for April. Is there a motion to approve?
so moved.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
I second.
Thanks, Michelle. Anything jump out? It looks pretty standard to me. Joan, anything you want to comment on?
There's really nothing unusual there. We did, the board had decided to move to that more ecologically friendly mosquito insecticide. So that's what those 4 cases of the Aqua Zenivex represents. So hopefully it'll be very useful for us, and it will make the community happy that they're not getting West Nile, but we're also not killing other pollinators and other important insects in the ecology.
Super. Any question or comment for Joan before we vote? Hearing none, all in favor to approve the expenditures and encumbrances for April? Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. And then Joan, you wanted to make a request for the June board meeting.
Yes, I will be out of town, out of state actually during that time frame, and it's just so hectic with everyone's schedules. In the past, we have combined meetings, so I wondered if we could maybe drop the June meeting and carry it over to July so that we would have a dual meeting that month.
Is there a motion to request that?
I would like to request that as well. I am also on vacation that same week.
Okay, so Michelle moves the,
I move the meeting of June and combine it with July.
all right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Emily. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. There will be no June formal meeting in June. It'll be set aside with the July meeting. Very good. Is there a request for an executive session? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Emily. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for your continued support and participation, and keep thinking good thoughts that House Bill 110 dies on the floor.
Thank you. Thanks for all your help, Chris.